Are you ready for day number 10 of the 12 days of Christmas? Today is going to be a little different. We're going to talk about 10 business statistics you need to know. Some of these are going to be a little humbling. And ideally, some of these I think will leave you a little bit inspired, but I think we need to have a genuine conversation of what you and I are up against in the world. Sometimes we forget how rare it is to be someone who's entrepreneurial minded. And not only that, but successful in business too. So let's jump on in. Number one stat you need to know as a business owner is there are 33.3 million small businesses in the US as of the year 2023, which is only 7% of the US population. 7%. So if you're sitting here and you're like, you struggle with sometimes feeling like alone or like no one really gets it, that could be why. Think of your friend and family circle. 7%. That's not very much. And I just want to give the definition real quick. Small business is considered under 500 employees. So even the word small business is actually a pretty significant range. So 7% of us in the world are running businesses from 0 to 500 employees. That's pretty crazy. Stat number 2, I think worth knowing, is small businesses, again, under 500 employees, make up 99.9% of businesses. 99.9% of businesses are 500 and under employees, which is crazy. When we think of like the stock market, right? And you think of the Amazons and the Teslas and the Microsofts of the world, you hear about them all the time and we talk about them all the time, but that actually is like not even 1% of the number of businesses in the country. And I just think that's so crazy. So 99.9% of small businesses make up the business market. Number 3, average self-employed small businesses salary. Are you ready for this? $69,579, which is crazy to me. So the average salary of someone who is self-employed isn't $100,000. And I share this number with you, not to discourage you. But I think we need to have an honest conversation. I've had to have this very honest conversation with myself. We talk so much about business revenue, which is a great marker. It's an important number to know in your business. I'm totally distracted because there's a bald eagle flying and bald eagles are my favorite. Anyways, I think it's important to track revenue in business. However, it cannot be the be all end all. And if you are bringing in more and more money as a business, but your salary has not changed, worth a revisit. In my Kelsey coaching opinion, worth a revisit. 69 bones is not much. When you think of all of the expectations, when you think of a day in the life, when you think of how many hours go into running a business, that's not a ton of money. So we're not in it for the most part for the money, right? I mean, I think the freedom and the purpose and the passion, there's so many other reasons people get into entrepreneurship. Making millions is not one of them. However, as you're going to hear in some other stats, I think there's still massive opportunity. But I think it's just nice to know what the average is. Average, just under 70K. If you're above that, high five. High five. If you're close, let's get you there. Number 4 stat. 18% of small businesses fail within 1 year. So if you think back to like the beginning of this, 7% of the US population are small business owners. 18% of those are going to fail within the first year. It's starting to feel like we're salmon swimming upstream to spawn, right? Like it is tough out there. And I just want you to like know that. And now we have some data to back it up a little bit. So 18% fail within the first year. 50% fail within 5 years. And 65% of businesses fail after 10 years. That's a lot. And it's not to say fail feels like a hard word, because I think that part of being an entrepreneur, we grow and evolve and change as people. I think part of being an entrepreneur, especially for women, it like fits into different seasons of life. It allows us to do different things. So in my opinion, people close and pivot businesses not because they failed, but because they've changed. And to me, that's not the same thing. But I just want you to know, like, if you can survive after 5 years, especially 10, you're probably going to be good. But that 5-year mark, man, that's a scary statistic. And I think the point of sharing these numbers with you is a little bit of validation. I think sometimes we're hard on ourselves. We compare ourselves a lot to our peers, not only our business peers, but like our friend peers, and like how they're doing in life and the things they can do in life. And like We chose a tough road, people. Here's some numbers to back it up. And it doesn't mean to dwell on them, but I think it kind of feels good to be like, yeah, no wonder it feels hard sometimes. And again, I want to also encourage you that there's some hope to be had as well. So those are all of the tough numbers. Number 7, 1 in 6 micro businesses, which they consider micro to be under 10 employees, are bringing in over $100,000 a year. So 1 in 6 micro businesses are bringing in over $100,000 a year. So if you're sitting here right now and you have less than 10 employees and your revenue is over $100,000, congratulations, you are 1 in 6 business owners of that business size, which is crazy. So I see that as a positive. I think that means there's massive opportunity. And I also, as I'm reading these numbers and thinking about this, to me, that's why I think it's so important who you surround yourself with. Because if you are a micro business owner who is struggling to hit that first 100,000 and you're just in a room of other people who are also struggling to hit that number, you start to dwell on the fact that it may not be possible. You start to reinforce the fear and the doubt and the concepts that would help support to get you out. So I've always felt this way. I love getting into a room where I am terrified, where there are people with multiple zeros beyond where I'm at, because I need that example of like what can be. If I'm around people who are at my level or less, and not that they're less than as people, but like if they're not financially where I'm at or less, how am I going to grow? So seek out those rooms where you're around people who can push you, challenge you, help you grow into that next level of business, if that's what you're wanting. Number 8, 6% of entrepreneurs start before they are 34 years old. I was surprised by this number. And now I'm starting to share the stats that like apply to my situation, because I started my business prior to 34. I am 34 now. That feels really weird. I'm 34. At the time of this recording, I may be 30. No, I'm 34. Just kidding. Math is weird. All that to say, 6% of entrepreneurs start before they're 34. Most of them start later in life. Most of them like have corporate lives and then go into consulting or start businesses after. So if you are sitting here and you're my age-ish, congrats. Like that's a pretty big deal to start a business as a young person. And I think back to that like isolation, that loneliness thing, you're just 1 in a million. There's not a lot of people like you. There's not a lot of people in the same boat as you. It's okay. That's why you feel the way you do. Go actively seek out those people, because that community is going to be so helpful to remind you of what can be, to help hold you accountable, to be able to answer the questions you have that pertain to your level of business. I can't stress community enough in this conversation today. Number 9 stat that you need to know as a business owner, 58% of small businesses work over 50 hours a week. I feel like that number is probably even more. 58% of small businesses work over 50 hours a week. You know, the whole like, I quit my 9 to 5 to work 24/7. We can ha about it. And I think there's moments of truth. But the reality is, hot Kelsey take, sometimes just because you're working a bunch doesn't mean you're working on the right stuff as the leader of your business. And I think we celebrate that hustle piece a lot. Like, oh, look at how much shit I got done today. And I'm the get shit done girl. This is coming from me. But like, oh, look how much I got done today. Look at my to-do list. It crushed it. And you peel back the layers of like, what was that time you spent? What were you doing specifically? Is that stuff that's moving the needle in your overall business? Or did you cross off some to-dos to feel productive? Sometimes my best, most productive days involve crossing off nothing from a to-do list and just making decisions, or strategizing, or mapping things out. Like those are the best days for my business, because no one else on my team can do that but me. And I think we forget that sometimes. We hide behind the to-dos, and it feels good to be able to cross off and say, I got 20 things done today. But when's the last time you led your team? When's the last time you sat and you audited how the last quarter went and made changes to your expectations or your KPIs or your pricing to help support the long-term goals you have for your business? It's the whole conversation of in versus on. I just think it's really important to remind yourself of that. So are there seasons of hustle where you put in the extra hours? Totally. We've all been there. I've been there. But I think this stat of 58% working over 50 hours, my follow-up would be, what are those 50 hours spent on? Is that really actually the best use of your time and energy? Just my thoughts. And then the last stat here that I thought was really interesting, and this should give you some hope. It did me. 88% of millionaires are business owners as of the year 2022. And if you're listening to this and you're like, where did all these stats come from? I have all the sources linked in the show notes, so please go check them out. But 88% of millionaires are business owners. Remember earlier we were talking about the average self-employed salary is 69, so 70K a year. But if 88% of millionaires are business owners, what that tells me is there's massive opportunity for growth if you want to go seek that out. And that's not for everybody. I'm in a season right now growing a family where I have an enough number. I don't know if you have this. I have a number that would be enough for this phase of life right now because I don't want to compromise my mental health, my work-life balance, trying to even fathom what it's like taking care of a human. I don't want to trade all of that for more and more and more and more financially. I'm in a season of I want to hit this enough number. I want to take great care of my people, and I want to live my life right now. So for me, is Kelsey going to be a millionaire in 2026? Maybe not. But I'm hopeful that that opportunity exists if I go seek it out, if I go put in the work and put in the effort and surround myself with people who have been there, done that, so I can get the roadmap of how and do it faster. But in my season actively right now, that's not top of mind, but the hope is there. And that's my hope for you today, is that these numbers are a little bit of validation. It's hard. It's lonely. There's not a lot of us. And the more you grow and scale, less and less are coming along for the ride. So if you find yourself in a season where you're like, gosh, all my business friends, I just feel like we're not on the same page anymore. They're asking questions about this basic stuff here. And I'm over here trying to scheme and plan and strategize and hire and grow. And I'm just in a different world. That may be true. You may have outgrown them, and that's okay. But just always seek out those other people who are just a little bit ahead of you to keep you inspired, to keep you humble, to keep you working towards a bigger goal, if that's what you want. So that's what I have for you today. Happy 10 days, and I will catch you tomorrow for day 11. Oh, and before I forget, we're running a contest over here on YouTube. All you have to do to enter is make sure you subscribe to my channel at Kelsey Marie Knutson, comment on all of these 12 days of Christmas videos on YouTube, and also feel free to comment on any of the December reels that you see posted throughout the month. We're going to put everyone's name in a drawing and select that winner in the new year after the 12 days of Christmas wraps up. So make sure to stay tuned for that. But I just want to remind you, if you win, you have an opportunity to do some 2025 planning with me, a business coach, and you get to come guest on the Get Shit Done podcast in 2025. So lots to look forward to. Thanks for being here. Hope to see your name entered into the drawing and can't wait to catch you in the next one.